On today's podcast, I had Caleb Ralston on. If you've never heard of him, there's probably a reason. He's actually the guy behind the scenes of some of the biggest entrepreneurs and content creators that you've seen. He spent a couple of years working alongside Gary Vee, filming him on many of his most famous videos. He is now the creative director for Alex and Leila Hormozi. I've gotten the chance to meet him because he lives here in Vegas, and he gave me a lot of great advice on my own content. And so I said, you know what, you need to come on the show and share some of that advice and what it's really like working with a lot of these big people. So we discuss all of those topics with Gary, with Alex, with Leila. We talk about best practices for creating content and building a brand. And I think if you are looking to build a brand for your business or for your personal, everything you got going on, this is going to be a great podcast for you. So without further ado, let's jump into it. Welcome to the Ryan Pineda Show, where our mission is to invest,
I only expect to make money in things that I understand.
innovate,
It's about believing in the future and thinking that the future will be better than the past.
and inspire. I am much more likely to hit my goal just due to putting it out there.
You're now rocking with the best.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Ryan Pineda Show. Today, I've got somebody who's actually behind the camera. So many of you probably have never seen this guy or know what he does. But let me tell you, he has helped some of the biggest names in entrepreneurship grow their personal brand. He was one of the camera guys for Gary Vee. He's done many of his episodes on one of my favorite series, Trash Talk. He's also now working full-time for Alex and Leila Hormozi. It's actually how I met him when they came to my office. And I actually wanted to bring him in to pick his brain about how we could do content better. And I said, you know what? We might as well put him on the podcast so that everyone can learn how they can do the content better and grow their brand. So I've got none other than the man of mystery, Caleb Ralston.
What up? What up? Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, dude. So first off, I'm just going to put it out there. Caleb and I have been talking for about the last hour off camera. It's going to be on the main YouTube channel, some of those clips. But dude, you've already given me a ton of great advice. I love it.
Awesome. That's amazing. That's what I would hope to do.
How's it feel being in front of the camera versus behind it? Like,
It's weird. Like I in high school I did like a lot of vlogs. And like I had a period of time when I was really into hiking that I did a lot of vlogs, but that's like you're holding the camera, you're doing it yourself kind of thing. So this is definitely, lights, an amazing set, and then, a very charismatic host. It's definitely different.
yeah, with purple hair. So
Great hair.
so I gave you a little bit of an intro, but why don't you tell everyone kind of what you've done to this point?
Yeah. Well, I'm the classic story of like I was making videos when I was a little kid, just with friends and stuff like that. So video was definitely something from the get. I got very fortunate to get involved with someone Sean Cannell. Worked with him early, like in high school and stuff. At like very beginning stages of when he was like really going on YouTube and stuff.
Right.
So I got to learn from him. That was amazing. Worked for a software company for like an internal team making like commercial work and stuff like that. Then had an amazing opportunity to go out to New York, work with Gary. Worked at Gallery Media Group actually at PureWow first. That was an amazing experience. Awesome company, amazing people to work with. Ryan Harwood and Mary Kate, awesome people there. And then worked with Gary, and that was an amazing experience. Learned a ton from like David Rock, from Andy Kranak, like everybody on the team, just amazing there. That was a super cool experience. And then recently started working with Alex and Leila and have learned an incredible amount just in the first 2 months of working with them.
Yeah. So what were you doing exactly for Gary?
So video. So I was like going around New York City or like flying on planes, traveling places with him, filming, documenting as much as we could. And then usually turning around and doing the edit. So like for Daily V, which eventually turned into Weekly V, which I think is back to Daily V now. So doing that, making micro content, like the biggest priority was like, make sure we make clips for, at the time, Instagram and then eventually TikTok. And then my favorite project that I got to work on was Trash Talk, like you were talking about. And so I didn't shoot those, but I did do the edit on those.
Wow. So I want to talk about some of the complex issues of going through that as a content creator. And we'll get into the Hormozis and what you're doing with them later on here. But, when it comes to Gary, it sounds like, you were it was just pretty much you and him traveling places at that time whenever you were on shoot, right?
Yep.
So D-Rock would have been the head guy.
Yep.
And you were working under D-Rock. He would just send you out with Gary.
Yep.
And then you'd have to go edit your own stuff because you were there. You knew exactly what was good, what happened,
Yeah.
all that, right?
Yeah. Oftentimes it was like, like let's say for example, we were in LA at VaynerMedia LA. It'd be, we film the full day of meetings, right? So it's like internal meetings, client meetings, meetings with different musicians or prominent people in culture. And then usually I would go back to the hotel room that night, ingest and start editing, edit on the plane. I would usually try to send Gary a clip like on the plane while we were waiting to take off. Like I really learned a lot about like the importance of speed and getting stuff out quick, because the quicker you get content out, the quicker you get feedback, which helps you improve on the next piece. Kind of like we were talking about.
Yeah. Were you guys flying like commercial or private planes?
Commercial.
Oh, that's crazy. Like, how was it going through that? Just him flying commercial.
Super cool. Because I was on the team for about 2 years, and even during the 2 years that I was there, I saw a crazy evolution of like how many people would come up to him at the airport.
Right.
And that was always, it was a fun game that we would play because, different people find you through different avenues, right? Like you find this, I'm sure, all the time. Like people are like, oh, I know you from YouTube. You're the YouTube guy, or you're the
Yeah.
TikTok guy, or
Right.
you're the Reels guy. And like we would always use it as a fun game of like what platform is hottest. So like for a long time, it was like people knew Gary through Instagram, but after a while he started, and I don't know if you were following at this time, but he was talking really hardcore about LinkedIn, and LinkedIn being like Facebook was back in the day with organic content.
Right.
And we started going hard on LinkedIn, and we would see people were coming up at the airport saying like, oh, you're the guy on LinkedIn. And so that would be an indicator of like, oh, this is working.
Right.
Same thing with TikTok. When we started prioritizing that and Gary was like, we want to go all in on TikTok, like a ton of people at the time, especially kids, would come up and say like, you're the TikTok guy.
Yeah.
Like you're Uncle Gary. Like it was the best. Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah, one thing we've had, we just started doing the vlogs, which we're emulating after Gary.
Yeah.
And that was also why I wanted to invite you here. I was like, man, like this guy did it. Like I might as well talk to him. He knows exactly what Gary was doing. I think one thing that is tough was and is still the editing side. Relaying what was interesting in the day. Cause not you guys make it look like our lives are so crazy and interesting, but it's not like that, like
Yeah.
that's the highlights of what happened that day.
Yep.
And so, we're trying to figure out, man, like how do we transfer like to the editors, like, hey, this is kind of what happened, how it should play out and all that.
It's tough. I think there's multiple schools of thought, and I think they're both right. There's the advantage of if the person editing didn't shoot, then they're not romantic about moments that maybe don't actually matter to the storyline, but they, as the filmmaker, were like, this is a cool moment. Like, there's plenty of times in my edits where I put in a shot that I got that I love selfishly, but it doesn't add to the story, And so it's like if you have somebody that is not attached to that editing, they don't care about that. So it's like they can cut that moment. But on the flip side to what you said, if you're the person that filmed all day, you have the most knowledge on what happened, et cetera, et cetera. And one thing that like I thought was super cool that D-Rock came up with, just in my opinion, brilliant. It's not super like tech or organized necessarily, but it's the quickest way for a videographer that I have found so far to take note throughout the day is he would have, and we all did it on the team, you have Instagram stories open when you're filming. And if you are given like some sort of like fire moment, the videographer takes a photo of the timestamp of that clip on the viewfinder. And then with the story text, you just write a note of what that moment is. And then you can, when you download it, it saves the timestamp of what time it was during the day. So when you're going through the footage, it's just quicker to find those moments in an 8-hour day. What I mean? So like little things like that can help speed it up.
They're my guy right now. He's on the podcast listening. You going to do that? He's shaking his head. He said
Austin's
he's going to
got
do
it.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Just dropping the nuggets, man.
Nuggets that I've learned from very, very smart individuals.
Yeah. Shout out to D-Rock for coming up with that hack. Because that's one thing Austin's been doing right now is like he writes moments, but man, to just take a pic and then have the timestamp, the visual of what it is you're looking for, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. And it it's a little bit harder to transfer it to somebody else, but you could, like, we would do this all the time. Like, you can, when you offload the footage, you can then send all those shots that you took to the editor, and it at least gets them to like second base.
Right. If you're listening to this podcast, then my guess is you're interested in real estate investing. Some of you are just starting out, while others are trying to scale their business to the next level. But the problem is, with so much information out there, most people don't know which program or coach to trust. Well, I'm a bit biased, but I believe my company, Future Flipper, can help you get to the next level. We've coached thousands of students from all over the world on how to build their real estate investing business. It doesn't matter whether you want to flip, wholesale, or buy rentals. Our coaching program has everything you need to become a great investor. There are many things that we include with coaching, but to give you a few examples, you're going to get an accountability coach. These are people that have had success in their own business, and they want to make sure that you achieve success in yours. We also have all of our documents, our systems, and processes that I've used to buy hundreds of homes. You can copy and paste them directly into your own business. And we have events where you get to meet me, top-level guest speakers, and other students who are crushing it. My students do deals with each other, and I personally do deals with them too. In fact, at a recent event, I just honored over 20 people in our program that made over $1 million in the last year. So if you want to grow your real estate business, head over to futureflipper.com and apply for a call with our team. The call is completely free, and they can help point you in the right direction whether you work with us or not. So go to futureflipper.com and book your call today. For the last year, the real estate market has been on absolute fire. Prices are at all-time highs, interest rates are at all-time lows, and there is more money in the economy than ever. But with so much competition, many investors are sitting on cash, struggling to find great deals. If this sounds like you, then you need to invest with Pineda Capital. With my network and social media following, we get access to the best real estate deals all over the country. And if you're an accredited investor, you can invest with me on those deals. In fact, last year we purchased a 334-unit apartment complex in Georgia for almost $20 million. We expect it to be worth well over $30 million when it's all said and done. Our goal with each deal is to build in so much equity from the beginning that we're able to refinance our investors' cash out and own the properties together with little to no money into the deal. And the best part is, you don't have to do anything. Our team will find the deals, handle the renovations, get them leased, and eventually refinanced or sold. All you have to do is provide the capital. So if you want exclusive access to our deals before they hit the public, go to pinedacapital.com to schedule a call. We can put your money to work today to start getting you great returns. So go to pinedacapital.com now to get access to our deals. Obviously, he's not posting those as stories. He's just saving the download, or he's just downloading the image.
99% of the time, he's not posting them, but every once in a while, like even to this day, every once in a while, you'll see he posts one.
You're like, what is this?
Intentionally, because he's like, this was a good moment, and maybe his note is contextual enough that you would actually know what is going on. Yeah,
right. That's D-Rock.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have to follow him and see when he does that. Just to get an idea.
Yeah. Anybody that is wanting to make any content in any way should follow David Rock.
Okay,
Yeah.
I don't. I need to do that.
Oh, definitely.
Everyone on our team needs to.
Yeah.
So, you guys were doing that with the vlogs. You started filming this thing called Trash Talk, which is what Sean Cannell was telling me I should do. He said, "Hey Ryan, you should just," long story short, for those of you who aren't like familiar, I recently changed my YouTube channel to being pretty much just vlogs because, I was kind of getting burnt out from just doing normal traditional content.
Yeah.
And I think it was getting stale and things were plateauing. And I think my life's pretty crazy that people would really like to see the behind the scenes. And the reception so far has been amazing. But the only reason I went down that path is because I called Sean Cannell after Patrick Bet David had told me it's time to switch it up. I said, Sean, okay, Pat told me this. What do I do? And he's like, go watch Gary Vee's Daily V's and just see how he does that. I was like, okay. So I start watching. He goes, and then also watch Trash Talk. He's like, you already kind of do something like Trash Talk, but I think you'll get some inspiration. And so for the viewers, you want to explain what Trash Talk is?
Yeah. Ultimately, Trash Talk is it was a way for Gary to give his audience a way to make money with no money. So like a lot of people would hear his spiel, what he would talk about, and be like, but Gary, I don't have money to start my business, or I can't go out and do this right now. He was like, okay, cool. Like, this is the way that without any money, you can go out and can make money off of this. It takes time, but you're going to be able to start from zero and go up. And so it was something too that was super authentic to him. Like him and his brother AJ would do this back in the day when they were really young. So basically, they would go around in New Jersey to all these different garage sales. Gary Vee would just roll up to your front porch
Yeah.
and negotiate buying,
A $2
mugs.
item.
Yeah, mugs were the big thing. Like mug life became like a really big saying in the community, and basically the show was showing him going around and actually doing it because he was like, I can tell people to do it, but that's not powerful enough. I'm going to show them me actually doing it.
Yeah.
And it was also extremely entertaining because it's Gary, being full on Gary.
Yeah.
It's remarkable.
Yeah. I remember. So I was telling you earlier, I got famous for couch flipping, and it's been great. And many videos, like my highest performing videos, are when I talk about couch flipping, or I go and interview other people who are couch flipping. Like, they love it.
Yeah.
I actually thought about going back into the game of couch flipping, and I was just like, this is a lot of work, and I've created an entire workforce of competition. These guys are, they're good. But I did one with pallet flipping where I actually did physically go buy pallets.
It's so awesome.
I had a competition in the
That's so
office.
great.
I said, I bought all the pallets. They deliver in my garage. And I was like, all right, guys, it's free. You guys all get to pick a pallet and then sell them yourselves, and we're going to go document it. And that's been one of my best videos.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. So I love doing that stuff. I don't think I could just, do garage sale flipping unless, guys, if you want to see me do garage sale flipping, I'll do it. Just comment below. But I like interviewing these different side hustles, giving
Yeah.
people various options of ways to make money.
Yeah. Yeah. It's cool because you are, on the flip side, you are giving a bunch of different avenues that somebody could go down, and you're exposing all of those so that people can be like, oh, I didn't even know this was a thing. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, no, 100%. So, I think just like all the things you did with Gary, like what was it like behind the scenes with him? Because you guys were pretty much just one-on-one together a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of time. One, it is incredibly amazing how efficient the man is with his time.
Yeah.
Um, there's very little when I was filming with him and stuff. There was very little moments that he didn't take advantage of and use. So if we were in transit, most of the time he'd be in a meeting, like a phone call or whatever. But a lot of times, if there was a 2-minute gap, he'd be looking at comments. He'd go live on Instagram. He'd go live on TikTok. He would text the team like, hey, I want to do this, or I've been noticing this, or he would put a tweet out, or it was just maximizing every minute that he was working.
Mm-hmm.
Because then when he's not working, he's off, and so it's that was one thing. And then the other thing too, that I always say, because it's so true. Context real quick. I read Gary's book when I was 15. Sean Cannell gave it to me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I was like, I'm going to do video for the rest of my life. This is what I want to do. And so the whole thing of don't meet your idols or who you look, and I wouldn't call him an idol because I think that's a bad term, but
Right.
somebody that I look up to as a distant mentor at the time, I was worried, is he going to be a not good guy? He puts on this persona online, but is it real? And I actually found that he's even better in real life than you can see in the content. There was a lot of amazing stuff that he would do that we wouldn't even put out. He's just a really good guy. So behind the scenes, it's real.
Yeah. What do you think at this point drives him to just keep doing what he's doing? If you had to guess.
I wouldn't want to speak to necessarily what drives him, but I guess, yeah, from my perspective, I think what he says, his legacy, people showing up at his funeral.
Yeah.
That was always from the get when I first started consuming his content, that's what he would talk about is he wants a lot of people. He wants to provide so much value to people that they feel wow, I should go attend his funeral.
Yeah.
That terrible day. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's 100%. Yeah. I've seen him talk about that a lot. And it's just interesting when you get to talk to the people who are close to, very famous people.
Yeah.
And, a lot of times you hear not so good things.
Yeah.
And then, it's good to hear that he's that way in real life as well. I personally don't know how he does what he does still because, man, when I saw him at Sean's event, somebody had told me he was just finished speaking at 2 other events that same day. And I'm like, this dude's speaking at 3 events, like headlining them all 3, just knocking them out. Probably going to go make, over $500,000 real quick. Like, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Like we were talking about earlier, the first trip I did with him, we, it was like day 1 or day 2 for me on the team. And we flew in the morning to London for a couple of meetings and flew back. Like we did all the travel there and back within the span of like 14 hours. Like,
Yeah.
and I remember I came back and I was talking to some of the homies on the team and I was like, man, at the time I was like 23 or 24 and I was like, man, this is insane. He's got way more energy than me. Like I am, 15, 20 years younger than him.
Yeah.
And he's got way more energy than me. And it's just all like, yeah, it was incredible. And like, I never really saw it wane. That was the other crazy thing. Like, even like when we'd be go, like late at night, like long day of meetings, there's an event that goes till like midnight, 1 a.m. Dude is still like giving everybody every bit of energy that he has.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah. That's nuts. So, you work for Gary for a little bit. Kind of what happens from there?
So actually, I started working over on the VaynerMedia side.
Okay.
And working with some of like the clients and stuff like that. Primarily at the time, I was really focused on TikTok. So I was doing a lot on TikTok with the agency on that side. And then when COVID hit, we Vayner started a show called Marketing for the Now, I believe I don't know why I'm blanking on it, but I believe that was the name of it. And so it was basically just a show where Gary and then other individuals on the VaynerMedia C-suite would interview different CMOs, CEOs of top companies, right? Like Pepsi, different clients, different people that we're friendly with, Ben and Jerry's, et cetera. And like, so we started creating that content. I was doing all the editing for that in the upfront. And then a really cool opportunity came. I don't know how deeply you followed Gary, but like he built a amazing brand called Empathy Wines.
Yep.
And sold that. And so I actually went over to the team that he sold that to, which was a brand new direct-to-consumer team within the overall parent company Constellation, and worked there for about 1.5 years, which was an amazing experience. Awesome, wonderful coworkers over there, and did that. And then randomly, I decided to move to Vegas, and 2 or 3 weeks after that, got put in contact with Alex and Leila.
Yeah. So, they hire you, and like, what's your official position?
Creative director.
You're the creative director for their personal brands.
Yep. So, and just the company in general. So like we have a lot of different things that we're working on right now, but basically the big scope is like building a media team to create a large volume of high quality content around their brand.
Yeah. So, and I've noticed the difference in the last 2 months. I mean, obviously they were already blowing up before you came along.
Yeah.
And so they were doing great, but I have noticed a shift in kind of things that they are doing now in the last 2 months.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Hey, that's
Yeah.
awesome. But yeah, they were definitely like blowing up far before. Like they are so full of wisdom and knowledge that like, and they communicate it in such a concise and easy to understand way. It's like, how could they not blow up,
Right. Most people want to get rich at all cost. They make sacrifices with their family, their health, and their faith, all in the pursuit of money without even realizing it. But what if I told you it doesn't have to be that way? What if you could grow your wealth in all areas of life? Well, it's possible, and that's why I created The Wealthy Way. It's a community of people striving to grow together in all areas. And we have multiple tools for you to use that are completely free. You can get access to the Wealthy Way Planner, where you can set goals and hold yourself accountable on a daily basis. We also have our Wealth Builder Academy, which is over 4 hours of content teaching you how to manage your time, create the right goals, and all the biggest secrets I've used to grow my life, not only in my net worth, but in all aspects. Lastly, we have our Discord community where thousands of wealth builders are all over the world encouraging one another and growing together. And once again, all of this is completely free. There are no upsells, there are no hidden catches. For me, this is a passion project, and I want to build a community of like-minded people. So if you want to start living the wealthy way today, go to wealthyway.com. There you can get all the free resources like the course, planner, and Discord community. So go to wealthyway.com. As long as they're willing to take it serious and see the value in it. And it's interesting, man, because I've talked to Alex many times, and I've seen his growth in the last year, and then just getting to pick his brain on the podcast and everything while we were here and everything. And it's amazing that I guess he's able to say things so good, in such a quick and easy way, right? Like i- it's hard. Most people have a tough, like I'm having a tough time communicating like how good he is, because I noticed him back when he had like 20,000, 30,000 subs on YouTube.
Okay.
And I was
Okay.
like, dude, this guy's really smart. And I don't watch YouTube. I seriously don't watch it. Like,
Yeah.
I'm friends with all the big YouTubers, and I just don't watch any of their stuff. Like, I just don't really care.
Yeah.
And I don't even know how his video popped up on my feed, but I watched it because it was a good headline. And I was like, okay, like what's going on here? Like, who's this really jack guy with a mustache? And, I watch it. I'm like, dude, this guy is really smart. Like, it's not just like this, caricature. And then, sure enough, I just started watching all his videos, and I'm like, oh, this guy's going to blow up. Like, his information's too good.
It's too, yeah. And the way both him and Layla are able to uh make it understandable. They're taking high level concepts and making it, so that like an individual like myself can actually listen to it and understand it and apply it. It's not using fancy language for fancy language sake. One thing that Alex has like really like I have picked up hardcore from him in the first 2 months is like he uses the Socrates quote, and I'm probably not going to get it right, but wisdom is wisdom begins at the definition of terms. And like just when you're saying something, being like, well, what does that actually mean? Or how
Mhm.
are we defining it in this context? And it's just like it's made me completely rethink like how I communicate, and it's something I'm trying to work on. But like it's incredible how they are able to take these very high level concepts and make them understandable.
You know what's interesting is I always wonder this, like, because people ask me, they're like, so who's your mentor? Where do you learn from? Like, what, gives you the ability to learn these things? And I always say, well, I'm in different masterminds. I read a lot of books.
Mm.
I don't really watch YouTube or content at all. So that's not really where I learn. But, and then I also learn from just my own experience of just running all these businesses and going through situations and everything else. So I'm curious, like listening to him speak, like especially since he's so philosophical along with business savvy. Like my impression is business wise, he learns what he learns just from doing it. That's how I've seen it. But I also wonder, like, where does he learn all of these other philosophical things? Have you gotten into like an idea of like what he does to like learn versus just always producing?
Um, a little bit. I think that's something that I'm learning more and more of. But one thing I have noticed that I love and I'm trying to pick up on more and more is like he doesn't consume a lot of books, but he consumes the books he likes a lot.
Mm.
So like he had this tweet that he put out that was something to the effect of like good book or books are like good friends. Uh items to be revisited, not checked off a list.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like rather than reading 20 different books on, marketing or whatever, like the one that he found the most value in, going back often and studying. That's one thing that I've noticed. But as far as like, where he is developed his thoughts on philosophy and stuff, I wouldn't be able to speak.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. So, I mean, with them having already had success, like what the hell are you for? Right? Like what
Yeah.
like what are some things that you're helping them improve on?
Um, I think working with them on, trying to map towards where they're wanting to go, um, taking the goals that they have, the way they want their brand to be portrayed, and what they want to communicate about, and just trying to build a team and a system around that to do it at a higher volume, good quality, and maybe a little bit focused on that. So just thinking kind of like long term across the board, and then logistically, like, you know, how do we go from 2 clips on TikTok to 3 to 4 to 5
Yeah.
to 6, so like trying to increase the volume while maintaining the messaging that they're wanting.
Yeah. Him and I don't know if you remember when he was here, we actually talked about that in conversation because I'm a big believer in volume, and he's obviously gotten to where he's at with more so quality versus quantity. And my point was like, I've tried both. I've tried, you know, 1 to 2, and now I do like 5 to 6 reels.
Yeah.
And it allows me to, get more reach out there. And yeah, does every video not do as good as maybe if I only release one? For sure. But I think when you release all of them, you know, it gives you the ability to talk about different topics, get seen by things. And, when you just look at guys like Gary and Grant Cardone, it's just pure volume.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. The I think one thing, not the thing, but like a key is also having a large catalog of content, right? Like, I think that is like if you look at Grant, if you look at Gary, like from what I have seen, and then obviously I've been under the hood with Gary, like there is a massive catalog for him of content for years,
Yeah.
right? Like Gary has his own search engine. Like you can go to his search engine and you can type in empathy or ambition, and
This
you
is
can see
internally.
this is external.
Oh,
Anybody can go. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
It's remarkable. Like, and it's crazy, but it's like internally, it's what we use to create those mashups that you see, et cetera. Like you'd find every moment where you talked about a certain topic, but to have that volume of content, you need the proper input for that. So like, I think that's something that in the beginning, my opinion is a lot of people go too quick to the volume game without having the substance to match it.
Mm,
So I think it's like something that like you want a high volume of content, but there in my opinion should be substance to that content. You clearly have a lot of substance to your content. So you're hitting both metrics, right? You're hitting the volume with the quality as well.
right.
Because ultimately, like what is quality? Like, are you talking about quality of lighting and
Yeah.
framing, or are you talking about quality of what you're saying?
The information.
I think
right.
the quality of the information is the most important factor,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so if you can get the other things in, that's awesome sauce. But like that is not the differentiator, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, 100%. So I guess on the content side, we talked off camera, I'll just say here on the podcast, like about different things that we need, I guess, mechanically or,
Mm.
with the stuff. So we're talking about how we can get better audio, how we
Oh
can
yeah.
film these vlogs better. You brought up some other good points about just, getting other people on camera and making them feel comfortable so you get great raw conversations. What would you say, just as like tips and things that you see just done wrong on a consistent basis that people can improve on?
As far as like making people feel comfortable.
Not just content in general, right? Like you got people listening to the show right now who are already entrepreneurs, right? They got businesses, they're trying to make money, and they're like, yeah, I get it. Gary, Ryan, Alex, these guys make content because they know it helps people and it helps their business. Like, this is great. I'm going to start making content. I want to help people. I want to grow my business. Like, what are some mistakes that you see these people making who are not yet big?
Hmm. That's a great question. I think one thing we were talking about is like ultimately, you need to figure out what the goal is and why you're doing it. So you said the reason why this person is doing it is because they want to help people. Well, in order to help people, I think you need to know what they need help in. So the biggest thing is like paying attention to what your community, whether it's big or small, is talking about and asking about. If you don't have any, if you're like literally starting from zero, you're not going to have comments on your content. So you're not going to be able to like use that to determine what you should talk about. But what you can do is look at similar people in the space. I'm really not a fan of looking at similar people, what they're putting out content wise, and then just making a different version of that. I'm not really big into that. I don't like that model. What I do like is going to those people that would maybe you would call them competitors or like, co-individuals in the same space because there's plenty of bread for everyone. But like if you look at their content and see what comments are generated on their posts, what
Mm,
are people asking them? And then can you create content around those questions? Because ultimately, if you're trying to help people, like we have our own subjective view of like, I think people need help with this, but like I it's only from your point of view without the context of what the audience actually needs.
yeah, no, 100%. And that was actually one of the biggest tips you gave us, which I forgot to mention was start looking at your comments, right? Like, because we haven't done a good job of looking at our comments across the content. And, it makes it less likely to engage when we don't engage back. And also, too, their comments are going to be the best pieces of content that we could make, content for, right? Like they're the topics. This is what people want to know. And so you'll start to see that on our vlogs more with, Austin asking me these questions. Um, because I think that's super smart. And you had told me off camera about how Gary spends so much time reading comments. Like it's just all he does.
Yeah, like, I don't know if this has changed, so I don't want to speak to the current, but when I was on the team, it was like he didn't consume content, but he would consume the comments of content to get a pulse on, the reaction, what the audience, what the culture is thinking and feeling.
Yeah.
So like comments are huge. I think it is, as a content creator, I think it's one of the most important things that you can pay attention to. It's
Right.
like in a conversation, like if you can't see me like on a phone call, like you have far less context on how what I'm saying is being received, right? Like versus here, like you can get immediate feedback. Comments are kind of like the closest thing to immediate feedback on your content.
Right. No, I love it. So I guess for you, you've been around these big people now, and I assume you're gonna be with the Hormozis for quite a while. Like what are goals for you when you're on the production side?
Like long-term goals, like career-wise, or
Yeah, I mean, just career wise and like what motivates you, you know?
oh yeah. What motivates me? I like helping people. But I have found over the years that my best way of doing that is through content, specifically through video. That's expanding over time and stuff. But I I loved Gary's message of wanting to help people map towards happiness, right? Like I very much resonated with that.
Mm-hmm.
I love Alex and Leila's message of wanting to document the best practices of building world-class businesses so
Mm-hmm.
that other entrepreneurs can do the same. Like
Yep.
I I align with that, but I don't have the knowledge or experience to speak to those topics, nor do I want to. But I get to come in and help in a small way contribute to that overall mission. That's what motivates me.
I love it. I love it, dude. Well, man, I've had a blast chatting with you. I've had a blast, getting to know you and see you. And I appreciate all the tips that you've given my team. I think it's going to make everything so much better. If anyone wants to link up with you, where can they find you?
I'm on all the platforms, but Instagram's the only one that I'm actually active on.
What's your Instagram?
Just at Caleb Ralston.
At Caleb Ralston. So go check out Caleb. He's knows everything, and I'm sure he's willing to, help you out and give you a piece of advice. But dude, I appreciate you coming on the show, man. It's been a pleasure.
Thank
and
you
guys,
so much.
if you like this, make sure you subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Peace. Thanks for watching the Ryan Pineda Show. If you want to work with me, head over to ryanpineda.com. You can find my courses, coaching programs, and upcoming events. We also have free resources you can download, so head over to ryanpineda.com.